So today I was joined by Ben Elsey of Macen. Ben handed his notice in December 2019, started Macen in March 2020, which we all know was an interesting time to start a job. He did have no plan to begin with. He's honest about that. He started out as a freelancer. He's now a team of 5. They work for contractors and end clients. And we talk about why that's really useful for their people in terms of being both sides of the fence. But we also touch a lot about the construction management model and how certainly he sees that part of his business growing a lot. Ben was a genuinely lovely guy, super chilled. I get the impression he really wants the best for his people in terms of their development. I think you'll all love the chat with Ben. Right, welcome to the next episode of Growing Consultancies. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Ben Elsey of Macen.
Thanks,
welcome,
Paul.
Ben.
Great to be here. Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
No, absolute pleasure. I've seen you, obviously, the business start to grow, so keen to kind of get into that, understand your backstory, etc., as to how you've got there.
Yeah, sure.
So to begin with, can you just talk to us about Macen? Where is it at the moment in terms of, I guess, kind of current headcount, core sectors?
Yeah, so I set up Macen sort of around 5 years ago.
Yeah.
At the moment, we've got a team of 5, and looking to sort of expand that this year with sort of probably more lower sort of low technicals team, and then I started off sort of 5 years ago, straight out of COVID, working from the bedroom at home with my 2 children and my wife. It was pretty tough,
intense, yeah.
But since then it's sort of it's grown quite comfortably for me, and I'm enjoying being part of the growth, really. But
good.
It's good. Yeah,
good.
It's really good.
And the 5, are you all QSs? What's the split of the?
It's all QSs at the moment, and I think that will continue to grow with sort of more QS focus. We do offer project management services, so I think eventually we'll bring in sort of more of a PM team as well. But more all sort of predominantly QS cost management based skill set.
Good. Yeah, excellent. So let's just dive into your, I guess, the question I ask everybody is, first of all, how do you become a QS? How did you become a QS? What was your route to market? Or through to
So when I looked into sort of becoming a QS sort of early 20s really, and I sort of found out about it through a friend really, and then it was a case of just trying to find an opportunity to work for a consultancy business. And I, back then it was, can we draft a letter to 20 consultancy local to me and hopefully one will buy, and one did, and a company called Jackson Rowe, who I spent most of my career with, and I think I went for the interview first, didn't get it, went again, tried again, and eventually got a job there. I think I even offered to work for free at one point, because I really wanted to sort of get my foot in the door, and they gave me the opportunity, and I just got my head down and worked super hard to sort of work my way through the ranks, really.
Amazing.
So and then went through college and university, and just pretty sure I went around the hard way about it, but eventually I got there, got chartered about 10 years ago now, 11 years ago. So
amazing.
It's been
And so back then, what appealed to you about being a QS? Or obviously you got told about it. What appealed to you about what made it interesting to you?
Yeah, I think it was more about the fact that you're not always office based, and you're part of the projects. I've always felt like I've always seen the projects now as like almost like a business. Do you know what I mean? You have a team, and you have a product at the end, and you're part of something that's you see from day one, and you see it finished. And that's what I've always loved about it. And to be able to go out and work with different people, and different skill sets and different personalities, and to be able to navigate a project from start to finish, and understand how people work, and to be able to, I think also I understood it like you learn to adapt with different types of people for that process of a project. So I think, admittedly, probably even sort of at school, I wasn't great at school. I wasn't very academic at school. I almost just loved playing football. but I always had the hard work mindset to it, and that is still very much today, that I do have to work doubly hard to get what I want to achieve. So
good.
So that's probably the reason, really. And just to be out and about and seeing something being built is really interests me. It's good fun. Yeah.
Good. Okay. Am I saying Jackson Rowe? Were the primary kind of client-based contractors? Is that correct? Have I got that wrong?
No. So
Okay.
Jackson Rowe were a traditional RICS firm, but their model was very similar to what Macen is now. Actually, they offered sort of the QS cost management PM service. They offered commercial management services, working with contractors,
Right.
and they also worked in sort of the claims and disputes sector as well. So almost from day one, I had a real vast exposure to different sectors of the industry, which I've then brought into Macen, basically.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, it's good.
So from Jackson Rowe, Fed 3, which does a connection with the two companies, is that correct?
F3 Group, yeah.
F3 Group, yeah.
Yeah, they merged into sort of a bigger group, and their F3 models were very much sort of CM focused and professional services focused at the start.
Yeah.
So coming into that business, taking the commercial management experience and professional services meant that the CM construction management route was quite a natural progression for us all, and quite an easy transition. So I ended up leaving F3, worked at Kia for about worked at Kia for about 6 months, and then Jackson Rowe, and then fully left and started out on my own. So that's sort of the progression really out of full-time employment.
So you were saying you started the business in COVID, so that was interesting time to pick to start a business. What was talk us through that?
Well, it wasn't planned. That obviously COVID, I sort of made a decision December before COVID, and then I looking back, I it sounds crazy, but I didn't actually have a plan.
Right.
I didn't really have a plan about Macen. I just went for it.
Right.
And went for it, and I ended up doing a bit of consultancy work and just worked super hard for them, and the projects I delivered for them were successful. And after about 6-8 months, picked up a contractor, and then it sort of went that way really. So it was interesting. It was quite scary, but I think
So when did the business actually start, Ben?
So it's the business was launched. Sorry, the business was launched six years ago as a sort of a one man, just me working my way through.
But when precisely? What month did it? What
March
20?
Yeah.
Wow. So
so
obviously you made the decision in December, served 3 months notice.
Yeah, I was gone.
At the time, some people would talk about some crazy thing in China, and then by the time you started, it's like,
it was pretty much,
wow,
what have I done? This has got to work. It was pretty scary,
I bet I was like, shit.
It was. I think I was worried, but at the same time, being chartered meant that there's always going to be a building contract that needed to be administered, or there's always going to be a project, right? So I always had that mindset that, being chartered means that I'm going to get a job somewhere if this doesn't work out. So, and I did cover my bases in relation to finding other opportunities as a consultant and other companies that were looking to employ people. I had such a vast, different experience in the industry, like working with claims, right? And working, claims were going to fly for the roof COVID because of the fact that, that was going to be tested right under contract. So that was always thought that there was going to be that opportunity for me, and I was very close to sort of going back and saying, this isn't the right time, but me being me, I wasn't going to quit, so I carried on, and it's worked out well for me. So,
but I think let's just like make a point of that, because I think I spend a lot of time speaking to people about this, whether it's making a career move or setting up your own business. You're absolutely right that sometimes you've got to back yourself and go,
definitely,
I'm good at what I do. I'm a chartered QS. The world needs chartered QSs. Me and my family are not going to be destitute on the street if this doesn't work out.
Exactly.
And I think a lot of people really kind of catastrophize, if that's a word. Catastrophize, is that a word?
Yeah.
Anyway, the worst case scenario, and really the worst case scenario isn't that worst case scenario, because at the end of the day, you can just go get a job if it doesn't work out.
Exactly. Yeah. No, that was exactly it. And even looking back, in the consultancies I worked at, I never actually made it to like director level.
Yeah.
Like, I definitely felt like at the time I probably had the ability to be a director in the businesses I was in, but because at that time I sort of was jumping around a little bit, it was like that wasn't really presented to me as an opportunity. So I would say that, am I learning on the job to be a director? Yes. am I learning on the job to be an owner of the business? Yes. So in this case, I'm certainly learning how to run a business and be a director, and so that's been quite a accelerated progression for my career, I'd say, in the last sort of 5 years, 6 years. Yeah. So
I think you were honest and said you didn't really have a plan when you first set up. What was it to begin with? I'm just gonna, a lot of QS decided I'm just gonna go freelance and work on a day. Was that pretty much the plan to begin with?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that was exactly the plan. And I think it's quite, looking back actually, although some people can get quite hooked up on business plans and like objectives and like looking ahead and things like that. Actually, I was like, well, let's just find my feet with this and see how I feel about it. And then I was like, I quite enjoy doing this and running my own business and having that sort of flexibility. And so I just sort of stuck out really, and just it's just growing organically, really. Yeah, it's just growing sort of word of mouth, and sort of people coming out of the woodwork that I haven't spoken to for a long time. So I've got this problem project. Can you come and help us? Yeah, sure. Yeah, no problem.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So what point in the journey did you start hiring people?
So I took my first hire, I think 4 years ago.
Right.
And then I hired a trainee sort of 3 years ago.
Right.
And then we've just made another senior hire, and we're just about to make another hire for another trainee. So
amazing.
Yeah. And we've got sort of an office manager that helps me out as well. So it's so that's sort of last 4 to 3 years, but sort of growing it that way, really.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And what's the split between the client base? Is it end clients? Is it contractors? What's the split of workload at the moment?
Yeah, so the business is pretty much split down the middle in relation to, we offer that commercial management service for contractors, and we offer the professional services side to clients, obviously client side. So, and that's pretty much on the back of how Jackson Rowe operated, or we don't do the claims side. We'd have done a bit of claims, but not too much. But the 50% of the commercial management side is helping contractors with preparing tenders and actually helping them deliver the projects. Which is a really decent income stream, and I think it's also a really nice opportunity for our staff to work on, not just purely working on the consultancy side of clients, but they get to work on with contractors as well. And then the other side is traditional sort of the cost management with clients on sort of that client side work. And then what in the last couple of years, we've taken that commercial management model of our experience of working with subcontractors and been offering the developers the opportunity to go directly to the supply chain for projects, rather than
construction management service,
basically like a construction manager. But we don't actually take on the CM side of that risk. I have considered it, but it's something that I don't really want to take down that route. So what's great about that is when people join the business, they're not just going to be shoehorned into just that side. You're going to have the taste of both sides. And our assistant QS Lucas is part of the business. He, 1 minute he's working on a tender and he's working with a contractor on a site. The next minute he's working with a client on a project in Wimbledon. So he's like 1 minute contractor, 1 minute QS. So he's like, he's got his head around it. It's great. His technical ability and knowledge of it, I think, is accelerated based on just having that opportunity to work on both sides.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm probably going to get shot by most of my pure QS consultancy clients, but I can see the value of that. If you work in both sides of the fence, it must surely accelerate your learning curve in terms of understanding how both sides of the fence work and how to navigate each side, I guess.
And we've been finding our feet with that, admittedly, in the last 2 or 3 years, and how that business or that contractor side of the business works. But I think it's going to really accelerate the business over the next 2 to 3 years with the plan we've got, because it does take up a lot of time. So the fees are higher and it takes up a lot more resource. And the projects are usually quite long. So it's a really good way to bring in long-term revenue into the business, whereby the fees are higher and it does need more resource. It's more admin heavy, right? Because you're managing subcontractors and there's a lot more admin involved in that. But and then
interesting. You're part of a new breed, I would say. There's 1 or 2 of the bigger consultancies looking at this, but you're part of a new breed of smaller consultancies who are doing this now.
Yeah.
Quite interestingly, some of them who've been on the podcast who are really, carving that niche. Tristan, who mentioned earlier.
Tristan. Yeah. No, that's right. He understands that model. We worked on a proposal together on exactly that model, and I think what's great about that is we've obviously got a supply chain that are brilliant, and that is like worth its weight in gold when you talk to clients, because you can't just be like, oh, let's go and do this model here where we can deliver the project for you, but we don't have anybody to deliver it. Like, oh no, we've pretty much got a whole supply chain that we can go to for quotes. Admittedly, that supply chain isn't our risk, but but the clients are seeing the benefit of a huge cost savings, and our fees are nowhere near what they would save on a contractor's profit. So it's and even at early acquisition stage, when we're looking at cost appraisals for clients, what we do is we can say, well, this is the model if you use the main contractor with a non-profit. This is the model if you do it without that. And it's always like, oh, that's interesting. How can we do that? So it's not.
I imagine it takes some convincing, because I guess the industry survives on that traditional perception of that traditional model, and you're passing the risk to the contractor, and you've got to very clearly communicate, I guess, that right, Mr. and Mrs. Client, you're the ones now you're actually taking the risk here, so you need to understand it. But it can save us a lot of money. If we go down this route.
That's right. Yeah, and again, we don't offer it to every client, because every client's got that experience or ability to set up a project properly. But we make it pretty clear about these are the advantages of this model and these are the disadvantages of it. And in some cases we have recommended it not to be the right model for them.
Yes.
And we said, right, just our fees are higher here, but actually this isn't going to work for you. Let's get it competitively tendered and try. Or in some cases we've gone, let's work with it. And
is there a particular kind of sector, project size? Is it new build? Is it fit out? Where are you finding it's working?
Haven't tested it on wouldn't do it on any refurbishment projects. I think that would be too complex to sort of manage the different connection of trades and coordination of that. New builds most definitely is the way we're going. We've interestingly got a Cyprus-based developer that's come over to the UK for the first time.
Right.
We're guiding them through that process. They're like, yeah, we'll take this model, let's do it.
Yeah.
So we've got a project in Hammer.
So I guess they used to probably self-build in Cyprus already.
They already understand the risks, but they don't have a supply chain. They don't know how the industry works in the UK.
Right.
So
Interesting.
Guiding them through that process, and we've got a supply chain that we're sort of offering to them to help them through that delivery model. So yeah, it's hard work. I don't want to lie, it is hard work. You get a lot of traffic, but for the way that with the cost of delivering now projects, it's a really great way to offer the model to clients, and we know that we've got that skill set to be able to do it.
Brilliant. And as I say, it's most definitely becoming. I'm hearing more and more consultancies now, going into that, and like you say, not being the full CM, but certainly, in effect, taking that CM service line to a client and say, let's do this. We'll manage it for you. We'll look after your subcontractors and make sure it all gets delivered.
Absolutely, yeah. No, we're definitely learning our way with it still, but it's I think set up right from the start with the right team, with the right site manager, with the right health and safety is obviously number one factor in all of this. But these subcontractors, in what we now see with subcontractors in the industry, is that they just all want the work, right? And they want to deliver a great product, and the quality's always a bit of a risk with that as well, because with the main contractor you can pick up the phone and say it's not quite right, come back and fix it. And sometimes that can be quite muddied lines when you have a load of subcontractors. So it has its advantages most definitely, but it has its disadvantages as well.
Like you say, the quality of your supply chain is critical there, isn't it?
Yeah,
usually you're working with trusted partners.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's absolutely massive. Yeah. It is. Yeah. So yeah, it's good. Yeah.
It is interesting. We've got to change the dynamics in the industry, because you could argue that the main contracting model is broken. The margins that they operate at and then pass down the pain to the subcontract tier.
Yeah, it's huge.
It's we can't keep on operating like this, because we've already got a very stretched supply chain. We've got a skill shortage in the industry.
Definitely.
You keep on sending companies bust by a main contractor taking something on at way thin margins and then passing the pain down.
Yeah,
we can't continue to do it.
No,
definitely.
No, definitely not. And with our with our experience working with contractors, we do truly understand what it's like when we're working with clients, and the projects that we're working with contractors, we always hugely support the contractors in the way that they have problems and issues that come up, and I think that sort of shows itself sometimes when we can also recognise when things aren't quite right, because we see it when we're working with contractors, and we understand that it's so hard for them to deliver projects and make decent margins now. It's so difficult because it's clients are always trying to sort of reduce that cost as much as possible. So yeah, it's as I said, that business, the side of that business is going to grow over the next few years. I can see it accelerating big time, and it's going to need a lot more resource.
And do you think at some point, Ben, say imagine at the moment your model is you're still charging a fee for that service.
Yeah.
Can you see an evolution within the consultancy world that maybe you or other businesses will start saying, we'll have skin in the game on this in terms of if we drive profit, then we get rewarded on profit margins for that? Do you think that'll be?
Yeah. We've definitely had that sort of conversation with clients. I sort of have said, let's just deliver this with our fees in that way. I can see that. I can see that most definitely being. I think importantly though, that these projects have to be have to be a certain number.
Yes.
Anything sort of even $1 million, you're looking at your fees would be almost as much as the contractor's profit.
Right.
So the model works, but it works on the sort of the bigger schemes.
With you, okay, fine.
So you're looking at $5 million scheme, and if a contractor's looking at £500,000 profit, our fees wouldn't be anywhere near £500,000. Obviously,
yeah.
They might be sort of half of that. And,
right.
And one of the things that I've always said to clients is that it is, you save yourself this money. There is that quality risk and delivery risk. But in this market, sadly, you see a lot of contractors go into administration pretty quickly, and you really don't understand contractors' position in the market and how they're financially standing, even if you do those checks. So I always say to them, okay, so if one main contractor goes to administration on this project, that's a really bad place for you to be.
Yeah.
But if you lose one subcontractor, we can go and find one tomorrow.
Yeah.
And as long as this sort of might be on, one of them might be on the critical path, but fundamentally, you'll be able to find someone within a week to come and do that work, and your project can still continue because we can find ways to mitigate it and move work around. So that in this market, when you talk to them about that model and that understanding, like actually that is lowering our risk of actually, other projects.
100%. Like you say, that main contractor goes bust, then all the supply chain don't get paid as well. So that sends a lot of them under in some cases as well if it goes terribly wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, from that perspective, it's a pretty good risk strategy on projects.
I think I want to say it was last year that NG Bailey said they'll never do a subcontract again with a tier 1 GC because really it's just too painful. I'm sure that's what they announced last year.
Oh right, yeah, maybe
they'll contract direct with clients going forward. So there are changing times coming now. I think so. There's a realization that the current model's a bit broken and fraught with risk.
It is. Yeah. And it's not to say now, sort of what we work with contractors, is not to say that we're going to take the contractors out of business.
No.
Because it's not every client we talk to about it, and we don't always recommend it. It's not always the right way to go about it, because the value in a main contractor is their experience, and sometimes contractors do have that resource inside their business that we might have to sub out because we might not have a contractor for that, and so there are some advantages using a main contractor in most cases, but you just have to gauge the client and understand that client risk, and have they got the experience to, just like if you'd offer construction management services, you wouldn't offer that to every client.
No,
certainly not. And it's very much the same when we offer that with other clients. Yeah.
Well, again, I think coming back to the bit about you offering the commercial management service to contractors and a lot of that being the upfront stuff. Again, a lot of what I see from other, I guess probably much smaller, well, but maybe about the same size or small business than you, Ben, often kind of one person operations. But a lot of what I see and talk to them about is that a lot of maybe smaller, maybe not large GCs, but a lot of the smaller ones are kind of agreeing to things that they're getting into contract that they don't really understand the contract they're getting into. And actually, if somebody just spent time looking at it properly to begin with and go, right, how are you going to make money on this?
Yeah.
What contractual risks are you entering into this?
Yeah, exactly.
Then you'll avoid it going bad in the first place. And a lot of them are doing it because they're a bit naive into what they're what they're entering into.
Yeah.
And they're an intelligent client with a good a good PQS on their side is going to rip them apart.
Yeah, we've actually been working with a contractor that's a sub-E contractor, and he's got a contract he wants us to look at and provide advice on and point out the risks. I think it's probably already started on site, so I'm not sure how that's going to land. But yeah, they're always, contractors are always going to want to pass down that risk, right? And full set of terms and conditions along with it. So we can help contractors with that, and with our claims experience and knowledge of contracts, we can help them do that. But yeah, no, that's right. Yeah,
good. So where do you see Macen going next? Obviously 5 now. What's the plan for the business, do you think?
Yeah, so I think I've got a plan now. I didn't have one 6 years ago. I've definitely got one now. I can definitely see with what I've just been talking about in relation to, but I can definitely see the business sort of doubling over the next 12 to 18 months. And
brilliant.
I want to get to, with the people I'm bringing in and my ambitions for the business, I definitely want to sort of hit that £1 million mark over the next 12 to 18 months. And I think that's definitely going to be achievable.
Good.
I think you have one of your other consultants on the saying, you write a business plan, put a number down, and it's always more. So I've definitely got more of a short-term plan rather than it being too long. I can't understand why you would have looked more than 5 years. I think for me, it's like 12, 18, 24 months. How do we navigate the wars that we face now in this world? It's an unexpected industry that we work in. So it's been pretty tough navigating the last 5 years with COVID, and we've probably been through another recession and a couple of wars. It's a really tough.
I think it's just the new norm is there is no norm anymore, is there? And you have to and then what we touched before we started recording. How is AI going to impact the world at large? Not only what you do for a living, but all of your clients. Again, stories of some of the big tech companies in the US laying off thousands of people, and they're talking about that AI is going to do some of it, and that's like, oh shit, what does that mean? And so it's challenging being a consultant's business owner, and you got to
certainly not for the faint-hearted, but
no, absolutely not.
Yeah, it is tough. Yeah, it is tough, but I'm excited. It's
good.
I've got a plan, and I'm going to see that through, right? And I've got a great team that can help me do that, and my ambition is to grow it from bringing trainees into the business and people that aren't qualified and through our uni, and help them develop and grow a business of chartered surveyors. That's my ambition.
Amazing.
And help the business, and help people come out of college and get chartered, because we do need to do that now.
The industry needs everybody to take direct responsibility, and hat off to you as the business of your size. That you're making that commitment already. That's
it's huge.
That's impressive. And a lot of businesses much larger than yours are still not doing. So how you're doing that.
Well, I think I went to the RSS annual conference last year, and they were saying that the average age of a QS now is 55.
Yes.
I mean, it's just that's and when you talk about AI, that older generation in the world of QS where I trained, they're never going to adopt fully AI, are they? That sort of. So we do need to. I am making a conscious effort to think. I think, my sort of era starting this journey as a chartered surveyor. I think we've got a responsibility to help the RICS increase the people coming through the industry to get them chartered, basically, and try not to lose the skill set that almost like they're insinuating that is the case. So
it's definitely an aging demographic, and we started, and we need to do more of it. Just the day job got in my way, but we analysed the APC results when they come out, and some of the numbers are scary. You'll be typically in each of the 2 sittings in a year. In London in the southeast, it comes in at about 50 individuals become chartered QSs.
Is that all?
Yeah, and then you look at some of the regional cities. My hometown's Leeds. You might have 5 people get chartered in the Leeds area or West Yorkshire area even.
That's scary, isn't it? Yeah.
And so we do need to do more to get more people through the system.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So it's
it's not easy, but we've all got.
Fair play to you for making the effort at your size, because genuinely a lot of businesses.
Yeah, I think you have to.
4 or 5 times your size are not doing so. So that's good.
It's just part of the growth, and hopefully, if I show commitment to these, you know, the trainees that come in, they show commitment back to the business and stay with us and for the journey. And you know, I'm willing to put time and effort to get people chartered, because I got that when I got chartered, and people gave me their time and effort when they were busy. And you know, it's I think it opens the doors to bring in some good people into the business. And also, like, I had great training at Jackson Rowe. It was you know, traditional quantity surveying.
Sounds like a great business, Jackson.
Yeah,
Jordan, who you know about then as well, you know, said very
Yeah.
similar. You know, that it was a great foundation.
We always refer back to it. We always talk about it. And you know, we went out for dinner last week with the chairman, the old chairman, and we always talk about the good times at Jackson Rowe. And but the core basic training they gave me is what I use every day now, and I want to be able to replicate that to the people that are in this business that I'm going to grow. Is that just forget about AI for the minute. It's going to be there. You need to get your technical ability to a point, because I believe in this world there is obviously AI is going to be huge, but clients are going to always want to pick up the phone and talk to someone who can answer the question about a problem or a contract risk or contract problem. So yeah, that's my ethos to it really, is get that technical knowledge base right from early doors, and they'll I think they'll end up learning quicker as well.
Well, one of the challenges I think that the industry faces, one of the kind of catch-22s of all this, is that AI may or may not speed up everybody's job.
Yeah.
But if you don't understand the fundamentals, if you intuitively can look at a cost plan and go, that's not right.
Yeah.
There's something being missed there.
Yeah, that's right.
And the danger is if somebody young comes into the industry and they're only ever fed stuff that an AI or tech generally spits out at them, how do they know if it's right or not?
No, they won't. They won't. Will they? That's what I've always say to the team, is that you can put a drawing into AI and it can tell you how many sockets and lights are on the drawing. But if you actually did it the way that we normally do it, you'd actually, when you're sitting in a meeting with a client, you know what's in that spec, you know what's on the drawings, and you know, because you've looked at the drawings, you've understood it. And I think that's that fundamentally will always be the person in the meeting room to know what's in the scope and what's in the spec. So I think that's the only thing I think that's going to be sort of, and it might just be that we just change that a little bit with AI, but understanding the spec and the technicalities and like you say, producing cost plans and cost estimates is probably going to be AI driven most definitely in the next couple of years. But I hope it does, because it'll make it everyone quicker, and clients will get a benefit of getting output quicker, which is great. But they need to be able to understand that if there is something wrong with it, then they need to be able to look at it and understand it. Definitely, yeah.
So one of the pushbacks that a lot of companies give as to why they're not going to take a trainee on is that I'm going to spend all this time training this individual,
and they might leave,
and then they get charged. They're going to bugger off. What's your response to that?
Well, it's a risk, right?
Yeah.
I think all you can do as an individual and in business is do your best to make sure that they don't leave, and you create a business and a culture where people enjoy coming to work and they enjoy the projects. And I think I would hope that what we offer in relation to that 50-50 model of contractor and client style and stuff, that's actually the variety of projects is way more than I think that you get in other consultancy businesses. I might be wrong, but it's I think I think this is the best anything you can do really, is keep that variety coming, and also just keep them interested, and hopefully they won't leave. But you can't control that. You can't stop that from happening.
No.
Someone's always might offer something better, but you hope that you create a culture in a business where people want to stay. Right?
100%. Yeah. Just kind of Richard Branson phrase today, isn't it? Don't saying they said about that. Just you got to train them right at the end of the day, and then make it a good enough environment that they don't leave. Yeah.
Well, that's exactly right. And I'm quite a relaxed boss, really, and quite relaxed in relation to where people work. And for me, fundamentally, it comes down to just like trust. It's trusting your team.
100%.
You have to trust them. And if you can trust them wherever they work, and that things don't get dropped, then I'm happy to have that sort of that flexibility. And being a family person as well, I always said to people when they come in, if you've got a family, you want to see with them, be with them, like, go for it. Like, I don't mind. Like, you haven't even got to ask me sometimes, just go and do it, right?
Good.
So
Good.
As long as the work's delivered, I don't, I'm just fairly relaxed about it, really. And I say it's trust is the biggest thing for me.
Yeah. And it's got to be earned both ways, but absolutely, equally you've got to trust your people, haven't you? Otherwise, you never get the best from them.
That's right. Yeah.
Arguably.
Yeah.
Good.
Excellent. Yeah.
So 6 years, started in COVID. What kind of lessons have you learned? Is there anything you think, I'd do that differently if I was doing it again now?
Yeah, I think, sort of some thoughts on this actually, and I think one of the things is probably more. It's probably same for most owners is getting out to market yourself. Really, I certainly think I haven't done enough of that. We've got a project in London now, but I think we really want to push more of our services and our clients into London. And yeah, I think that's probably the main one really. I did have some other things noted down, but I've forgotten now. But yeah, I suppose it's just probably finding our feet and finding our way through. Really.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, London, obviously, it's for obvious reasons. Yeah, it would make sense to do more in London just because the size of the prize in London's just
it's huge. Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah, it is. I think it's sort of, because the business has just grown nicely organically for us. It's like I'm busy enough, but actually, now you've got a bigger team. It's like, right, how can we sort of become more sort of contactable in relation to sort of client side work? The contractor side of work is keeping us really busy with developers, but also, it's like let's concentrate on growing more consultancy side work as well. So
where's the majority of your work at the moment in terms of locations, generally, projects?
So mostly Surrey and Sussex, really. We've got probably now we have 2 or 3 projects in London this year, towards the end of this year, which is going to be good.
Good.
And I hope probably have likely get an office in London probably the end of this year.
Right.
And probably start to look at recruitment in London as well. There's a couple of people that I'm probably going to need. So yeah, it's slowly going to move up into the city, which is good, really exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, good. Excellent. So what's your take on what you maybe use now, what you're going to use in the future in terms of tech? So a lot of people confuse the word tech with AI because I think everyone's lumping everything to do anything broadly that happens on a computer. They're all saying it's AI now, and it's not. It's technology first of all. What are you using day to day to kind of manage the business at the moment, deliver projects?
Yeah. Well, we predominantly use Mondays. Mondays is that tech tool. It's such a good tool. Especially for the procurement we do, all the contracting side. That's such a good tool.
Right. I didn't realize it would be useful for that. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's excellent for that. And we're currently looking at building. The reporting that we do is very much still old Excel. It is right.
Very powerful products.
Growing the business and running projects and trying to grow standardized tech forms has been quite a challenge, to say the least. So I'm definitely going to focus over the next even the next 6 months, by the end of this year, is using those tools that we've got now way more effectively, and actually using more of a bespoke software to actually make our reporting to clients much more effective. And as I said, with AI, there's more than likely going to be some huge tools out there to use to make reporting more accurate and more efficient. That's probably our main tool. And Harvest for timesheet recording, obviously that's quite a good tool as well. So I think Monday's a pretty powerful tool for us at the moment. Yeah, it's pretty good to all the data that we've got in there, and it's good.
Yeah, I certainly someone else been on here, maybe in Jordan again. Actually, somebody's using Monday as well. .com/. I think it's a powerful tool.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's really good. And be a case of that. The software that we're looking to develop is going to drag all that information we've got from our systems into like a reporting software that we can implement, and sort of slowly bring that into the business.
Imagine some of it is just that you've got probably a very I'm probably going to use the wrong word here, but fractured client base in terms of contractors, clients, developers who all have their own different systems, processes. It's finding some way to keep it all central, but you equally have to be able to plug into whatever tools they're using, I guess.
Yeah, well, I've sort of stayed away from, if a client has got their own standardized ways of reporting, we always say, well, this is our standard for reporting, and we use our own
Brilliant.
reporting tools for that.
And just being quite bold with
yeah,
as well.
so you have to be,
That makes sense, I guess.
We can't. We're happy to help if we need to in the way that they report up the line, of course. But fundamentally, our appointment that we have our standardized documents for reporting and producing documents, and you can take that information as you wish, really.
Yeah. No, well, again, there's sometimes danger that you try and be all things to all people, and at the end of the day, you're telling yourself crazy what you're going around yourself if you try and do everything for everyone at the end of the day.
But I think, just admittedly, on the tech side of it, we're learning, right?
Yeah,
we are.
Many of us are. I am.
We're learning.
Before we started recording, we both said, I've gone down a real rabbit hole looking at a lot of AI, but to the extent other than maybe at the moment using ChatGPT for certain really simple things, and I think it's a good research tool. I think a lot of AI are good research tools.
Yes, amazing.
We've not necessarily integrated anything into anything day to day that we're doing right now at the moment.
No, and actually, we just had a chat before we started. Actually, I think you do have to be so careful with it now. The RICS, I've made it clear that you have to make it clear to clients when you use it, right? So we haven't fully implemented it yet. We don't even really use it, to be honest with you, because I'm so conscious of the fact that we need to continue to deliver really good products and services to our clients, that AI is going to slowly drip feed into that. But it's also making sure that what I tell our team is, like, if you use it, this is how you should use it, and this is how you should reference it going forward. This is how you have to do it. So until I've, and everyone's aware of that, and everyone in the business, I've made it pretty clear that we do need to use it, but I'm going to make sure that it's used in the right way. That's not going to trip us up.
I think that's the key thing, because sort of kind of shadow AI, where your employees may be using it without you realizing you're using it, and then maybe putting a confidential client document into ChatGPT, for example, without really understanding what are the protective constraints around that, to make sure that that's not suddenly now available to anyone in the industry,
absolutely
in the internet.
No, they certainly don't. They certainly don't do that. Well,
I think it's not commenting about Macen. I'm saying generally.
Generally,
it's a challenge for a lot of businesses now. Is like, are you fully aware of what your employees are doing with AI and not doing, and that probably all of us probably need a policy
100%
pretty quickly, so we know what is and isn't happening, and what's what stuff we're doing of clients' work that's in a data vault that is not getting out into. If you're using AI, then it's set up in such a way that it's retained within your within your cloud of data, whatever.
That's right. No, it is. It's just so accessible now. It's more accessible. I think it's constantly changing. It's like one week it's ChatGPT, the next minute it's Claude, and it's going to be something else. It's.
I was speaking to Ungju, as I was saying, as again, I'm definitely, I probably do need it, because I'm rubbish at Excel. I'm not a QS though, but saying like Claude for Excel is brilliant in terms of if you plug it into it, it's like it's amazing what it can help with.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, it's we've certainly got to adopt it, and we will.
But I hear your point about there's almost. And I think you won't be the only one feeling this. It's like sometimes like, let's just sit back and see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I'm slowly getting to
we
it.
can maybe look at it in 6 months. You don't have to jump into it now and make mistakes with it. So it's
I think you had your other other consultant said he spent loads of money and time on it, and suddenly it's completely changed, and he's got to throw it up and start again. And I heard that, I thought, well, blimey, like that's such a good point. Like and that for me is like. I think, obviously, being a consultant, clients are just going to always fundamentally want someone to pick up the phone and talk to, right? But how you operate your business with AI is going to be crucial. And I don't think consultancies will get lost or fold, but I think you do need to just obviously, find a way that works for your business. And
there's different things. Like you talk about something like Monday.com, for example, very powerful product, and it's this is where a lot of people are getting confused. It's not, I think everyone's lumping everything into the term AI now, but like Monday.com has just got some really clever automation. And a lot of these really good products have got really clever. So just for you to just, I don't know, something that might seem really, like I bet some people are still doing this very manually. It's like if you send out an invoice, you can pre-program a set of automation for it to follow as if from you, with emails going, can you pay the invoice, etc. Or what's the next stage? Put a call. Just some stuff like that. I think a lot of businesses are still doing it really the hard way.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
And you can automate workflows and things that are nothing to do with AI. It's just stuff. This technology has existed for a decade now. You can do that just to streamline your small business so that you and your people are not spending too much time doing admin work.
Absolutely, yeah. No, yeah,
there's a lot to do with that as well. I think.
I think it's quite exciting. I think it's really exciting. Yeah, it's not daunting for me. I think it's an exciting period of time. I think I think if you had a team where a tech wasn't really part of their if you had a team where the tech wasn't part of their day-to-day usage, then I think implementing it would be exceptionally difficult. But I think now, like I said, with bringing people in with a limited experience, and day one they go, oh, I'm using Mondays, I'm using Harvest, I'm using ChatGPT or Cloud, and this is how you do it. They don't know any different.
Yeah.
Right. So that is like another supportive to my strategy to actually bringing people up from the ground up. Is that actually day one they're going to work in tech and work in AI, and they won't know any different, and actually they'll use those tools on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, and that's it. You can't be fearful of it. I think you got to embrace it, but on the flip side of that coin, you take your time to make sure you're implementing the right thing. Like anything you do, I guess implementing AI is no different to how you'd implement any process system in your business. You'd surely do some due diligence and make sure you're implementing the right tool at the right time with the right parameters, safety constraints, etc.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right guardrails, I guess, in place.
Yeah. No, it's going to be shift and change, most definitely. Yeah,
it will, and I think I've said many times on this podcast now, I think there's going to be two groups of people. I think there are some of the larger players who are truly exceptional, the market leaders in what they're doing, and they're on it.
Yeah.
You've then probably got a handful of the, I guess, larger end of the SME market who again are very much on it.
Yeah.
But then you've got businesses of your size who are probably at a place where you can be agile and change and adapt and do these things. But then you've got a whole swathe in the middle that are still very, very traditional.
Yeah.
And they've got systems and process. It means they can't adjust quickly.
Yeah, true.
And I do think some of them are going to be in real trouble in the next 5-10 years unless they work out to be more agile and
that's a good point. Yeah,
adapt the systems and processes.
Yeah, I didn't think of it like that. That's a really good point. Yeah. Like I said, it's for us, it's like listening and hearing what's gonna happen.
Yeah,
how it's gonna happen. But I think at the moment it's just about delivering a service and working the business that's growing. Like it's growing a business and then delivering projects and bringing clients in, and also you got to bring in AI. So hold on a second.
Well, listen. This is also the point as well, isn't it? That again, I'll openly admit, I probably lost a lot of time back in the last year, really going down the rabbit hole, really looking at a lot of details to the point that I'm like, I had to kind of stop and step back and go, I just need to get on with my day job. And so far this year has been just mental. From 1st of January onwards, it's just been crazy busy. But I'm just doing it the way I've done it for the last 20 years, and it's just like, just because I'm good at what I do, I know what I'm doing, I'll get on with it, and we'll make money. So sometimes you've also got to be careful that you're not like trying to worry about creating a system, a process, whatever, and actually the way I've done it for the last 10 years is still working. Let's just concentrate on that for the time and do a good job of doing that.
Exactly, yeah. You've got to
concentrate on making fees.
Yeah, making the money, making fees and delivering projects. And so it's not going to be easy, but I think once you get there, it'll be okay. And that's how my thought is that.
I just think at your size, you've got the, as I say, you can be agile enough now to adapt and change. It's your companies who are 300-400 strong that I worry about, who are just probably not adapting, and they've suddenly got a lot more mouths to feed than you have. And
well, that's a lot of people to manage. We'll put things in ChatGPT, isn't it? So
precisely that. The change management that goes on with that size of business.
That's
again, Neil Aiken, who I had on it from Exeger, and I think they're about just over 100. They're really advanced in terms of where they are from a digital perspective as a QS. But he said, the biggest thing was cultural change. It took us 5 years on this journey. It wasn't an overnight journey.
Yeah, it's a long time, isn't it? A lot of bumps in the road. No doubt.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Good. Well, coming up to about an hour. Ben, really appreciate you coming on board, and I hope Macen continues to grow as a business. I always ask one question, stroke two questions at the end. I think you're probably going to know the answer to the first one. Who's been your best kind of boss or mentor in your career, would you say, and why?
Yeah, I mean, interestingly, when you say best, I actually looked at it as someone that wasn't the best because I learned a lot from them.
Yeah.
And how not to be. I've seen that.
A lot of people say this to me that
I'm not going to say who that
boss
person.
is than your good ones. Yeah.
He was an excellent surveyor, but I didn't enjoy that period of my career because of the way that I was being led and managed, and I learned loads from that period of time, not just technically, but also just how to manage people and how to be treated. So for me, that's probably been the time where I look back and think that's a great way to be a surveyor, but not necessarily how to make people feel and how to be managed and be a leader. So I learned quite a lot from that period of time. But
it's one of the problems, isn't it, with a lot of businesses? You get promoted based on time served. It doesn't mean to say that you're a good manager.
Yeah, exactly. It's
very different.
Yeah,
skill set.
That's right. Yeah. So that was probably the one, and I think from an overall, business perspective, I think obviously the time at Jackson Rowe with those directors there, Daniel, Bob, and Graham was there. Those three were probably the guys that were just excellent at guiding trainees through the business, and I learned so much from that time there. It's really set me up for a great career, I think. So I take snippets from all of those people and and learn from that. I've learned from that, and hopefully I can, sort of be myself, and hopefully, grow with that type of understanding of how those leaders led me, and how I've been taught. So
good.
Yeah.
And is there would you recommend if you read much, would you recommend a book that you think business owner you should read?
There was probably I read a couple of leadership books. I think one of them is Why Should I Be? Everyone Should Be Led by Me. I think that's the name of the title. I'm not sure, but that's probably been one of the books I've quite enjoyed reading. Why Should Everyone Be Led by Me? That's what it's called. Yeah,
right, brilliant.
Yeah, it's a good book.
What do you do in terms of your because obviously I think often the danger of a lot of business leaders is that they're very focused on developing their people. Not very focused on developing themselves.
Yeah.
Are you doing anything yourself, would you say, to develop yourself personally as a leader?
Yeah, I not personally, no. And when I was at F3, I was really lucky to put through it on a bespoke training leadership course. And I learned absolutely, I learned so much about myself on that, and that was a really, really powerful course. And I haven't actually done anything since then, to be honest with you. But I think I'm sort of learning on the job with this as well. So
which is important as well.
Yeah.
I think that's important as well, because you've got to learn through your own mistakes, but learn through your style and whatever it is, and evolve as a leader. So
that's right.
I'm not sure a book or a course has all the answers to that, because you've got to do it your way, not somebody else's way.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think for me, it's just all about being myself all the time. That's what I've learned, really. And what you see at home, Ben, is what you see at work, Ben, and that's, for me, it's trying to be that person, really. And
you come across as that in all meeting. You come across as being a fairly chilled character. Equally. Obviously want the best from your team, which or for your team, I beg your pardon, which is good.
No, that's good. Yeah.
Well, look, I wish you continued success, Ben.
Thanks so much. Yeah.
We'll get you back around in a few years and see if the dream's alive and
and
going strong.
Yeah, I'd love to come back. No, thanks for inviting me. It's been great to be here.
Absolute pleasure. Cheers, Ben.
All right, cheers, Paul.